So much of the time when we're teaching in the band orchestra choir setting, we're teaching music that is not really the same style as the music that the students listen to.
That's today's guest, composer and author Jenny Peters, giving us yet another reason to incorporate the ukulele into what we do. Welcome to Music Ed Insights. I'm leadership trainer and former band director Alan Fire, here with composer and co-college music education program head Steve Shanley.
Each episode, Alan and I talk with national thought leaders in music education with practical insights for K-12 music educators.
Steve, tell us about our guest.
Jenny Peters is a sought-after clinician, composer, and creative musician. She and her sister, Rebecca Bogart, created the unique pedagogy of Ukulele for All, released by Chose Publishing. Jenny and Rebecca are also the authors of the Amazon best-selling 21 Songs in 6 Days series of ukulele books. Jenny is a popular YouTube ukulele personality and recently retired from a successful public school orchestra program in Skokie, Illinois. Find Jenny's full bio, show notes, and resources at musicedinsights.com. Alan, what was the takeaway you had from this episode?
Accessibility. Our schools need to provide accessible opportunities, and educators want to reach even more students with music. Ukuleles are a great way to serve both goals. How about you, Steve?
Yeah, this was a cool one for me to listen to again, and very different than our other episodes because it sounded like three veteran music educators, all of us from pretty different backgrounds, just kind of having a brainstorming session together on how to make the best use of the ukulele in any given situation. And I felt like we made some real progress.
Yeah, we had some fun here too, for sure. Speaking of fun, if you are in our Insider program, watch for your personal invitation to your monthly Zoom with Alan and Steve coming up on Valentine's Day.
Oh, Valentine's Day.
Yeah, kick off your Valentine's Day with Alan and Steve. February 14th, 3 p.m. Central Time. Anyone who becomes an insider between now and then gets an invite. For now, let's get to Jenny Peters.
Jenny Peters, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Well, I'll be honest, Alan and I, we're band guys. When we hear about ukuleles and recorders, people like us are quick to think, elementary general music, not for me. So here's your chance to convince us. Why is the ukulele so great? I've already got enough on my plate with flutes, clarinets, trumpets, tubas. Do I really need to add another instrument to worry about?
Well, I will answer that by saying I taught both elementary general music and orchestra in my career. So I totally understand where you're coming from as a band person, because when I was teaching orchestra, it was not something that was a huge concern at that time. But I was in the schools for 25 years, and there are 4 reasons why I think that ukulele is something that's really great for all of us, especially instrumental music teachers. First of all, it's affordable and it's accessible and it's fun. So if you're in a situation in a school where you have not a huge budget, you can probably outfit a classroom for about $1,000. It's also a great recruitment and retention tool. If you are in a traditional band or orchestra program, you probably start in a 4th or 5th grade pullout situation, or maybe you start in 6th grade. You have a lot of opportunities to exit instrumental music, but we don't give very many opportunities for people to enter instrumental music if they're older. If a student is someone who moves around, comes from a family that's fairly mobile, and all their friends are doing band and all their friends have played for 2 years, they're going to say, it's not for me. And not everybody, we can enter into choral music more easily in the various process, but not everybody wants to. So this gives us another opportunity for recruitment and retention.
Yeah, you gave a great reason that Alan and I have talked about many times as high school band directors, especially. Someone moves in. Yeah, I hear you're the music teacher. I would like to be in music. Great. What instrument do you play? Well, I don't play anything. Okay, no music for you. Sorry. Or here's a bassoon. Please take some private lessons. It's really difficult. Right. You're going to sound bad on it right away, but stick with it. And maybe in 3 or 4 years, you'll feel like you belong in the high school band. So yeah, I love that. You mentioned that it's accessible, that it's affordable, and it's also accessible. I think a lot of people might confuse ukulele with the guitar. A lot of us have maybe messed around with a guitar at some point in time. Maybe fewer of us have used the ukulele. What are the differences? Is the ukulele easier than the guitar? What do we need to know as far as that goes?
The ukulele is easier than the guitar. The guitar has 6 strings, the ukulele has 4 strings. It's a wonderful instrument in and of itself, but it's also an instrument that can work well as a pre-instrument for guitar, and it can work well in a setting if you have high school students and you're teaching guitar one and your kids are struggling. Ukulele might be a way where they can learn to change chords in time, and they can also strum, and they can also sing, and they can learn all that coordination with a slightly easier instrument.
So is it possible, like, let's say I am a high school instrumental teacher and my
Mm-hmm.
day is full with band and orchestra classes, and we don't really have a lesson program, and I don't have another spot in the day to add for a guitar class. Can I just add a ukulele to my band or to my orchestra? How difficult or easy would that be?
I don't think that would work terribly well. One of the things about ukulele is it's pretty quiet. It's more of a club setting or an after school band setting or an after school strings setting, something like that.
Well, and you were talking about the volume. For me, the fact that it's not very loud maybe made it appealing that, okay, I don't really have time to start ukulele class. I would like you to be involved with my high school band. If I give you a euphonium and you start making a sound on it, it's going to be very loud and maybe not good, and you might play in a bunch of rests. But I could give you a ukulele and you could maybe start playing along and feel a part of things, get used to things. But if you maybe make some mistakes, it wouldn't be the end of the world. And then as you get better in the context, maybe we can find some ways for it to get heard a little more. I see Alan kind of nodding his head. And Alan, I'm curious, let's say you were a band director at a small town high school and you did not exactly have an overabundance of staffing or time. Would you just turn up your nose at all of this? Or are you thinking, yeah, maybe I do need to give up one period of lessons a day, and this would be a great way to meet some students where they are? What are you thinking?
I would have looked for any excuse to have done it. I like kids who aren't band kids who want to make music. There's some kids out there that are kind of underserved.
Oh, yeah.
I think that this would have done something for them. And I'm also with you, Steve. Some kid wants to be in band. They just moved in. They don't play an instrument. Go to see if you can figure out the melody by ear and the ukulele. Would that be fun for you? Maybe they would just enjoy noodling around on that. Or you could figure out these chords by ear. I'll transpose a couple of chords for you in this band music and can hang out in the percussion section. Those people are fun. I think taking a little segment of time to do a ukulele class, I would have welcomed that.
Yeah, I think it could work. I mean, one of the things that I would do is just being aware of the keys. Ukulele's most comfortable key is C. And many times with a band, you think of things being in B flat and F and E flat. Those keys are a little difficult on the ukulele.
Is it easy to capo a ukulele?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's easy to capo. So yeah.
And the other thing is you can retune them. People do it all the time. We use tab a lot, and I use tab in my method, but I always have the notes written above. So I encourage in my private students who take ukulele and also in the kids who were more advanced, I'd say the tab is there to show you where the note is on your instrument, and that way you can see where the note would be as compared to where it might be on a violin or where it might be on a flute. But the tab is showing you where to play it, which fret to use, and then you have to look at the top line to read the rhythms. In Finale, it's very easy to drag. Finale provides ukulele tabs. So if you were to transcribe a flute part or something like that and then drag the notes down onto the tab staff, it would show you exactly where to play them. But you would have to transcribe the part. And that's work. But it's probably less work than going through your score and figuring out what chord is where. You could also do that. Those are the ways you would do it. Clearly, it's wonderful if people can read music. But in our more chordal instruments, we tend to read more tab than we do music at first, just because then we have more harmonic knowledge and we also have movable shapes. It's one of the reasons it's easier to do improvisation on a guitar or ukulele than it is on piano, because once you have a shape, you can move it all up and down the fretboard. On the piano, you have 12 different shapes for 12 different keys. And it makes it more difficult on the piano, except you know more on the piano.
I think that's a great suggestion. And I think music teachers, they are very used to needing to rewrite parts, or I need to challenge my viola player, so I'm going to rewrite this violin one part and put it in alto clef or whatever, that I think that doesn't seem like a huge obstacle to me. Alan, you're not composer, arranger, you're not doing a lot with music notation. Does that seem like for the average music teacher, that would be a huge ask to, yeah, I'll enter the flute part in and drop it down 2 octaves and let Finale translate it into tab, and my uke player can play along.
Yeah, I was aware that the ukulele's pitched at C, and that wouldn't mesh with the band chords very well, and that just didn't. I'm like, man, I could figure that out for them. I can capo it up and let them know how to transpose, or I can rewrite as necessary. Also, teaching students to do that is also something that I like to doing.
Oh, yeah. Give one of your student leaders the trumpet part, have them enter it in.
Yeah.
And then, for experience, and then you can double check it. And yeah, that's a good idea too.
Yeah. Hey, Jenny, clarinet section leader who thinks she's going to major in music someday. Little Steve has moved in from out of town. Will you help him get up to speed on the ukulele and rewrite the whole suite in F for him? Or, well, yeah, whatever. Yeah.
That would be an awesome, awesome thing for a student leader to do. And ukuleles can also be electrified. I have acoustic electric ukuleles. So if somebody really got any good, you could actually plug them in and you can hear them.
Let's just keep that a secret for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
But really, what I'm hearing is not a lot in the way of obstacles.
No.
And it's cheap and there's very little downside. And if you are an orchestra or band teacher listening right now, I think we're at the point where we have decided that we could implement this into our band or orchestra. Choir might be a little bit more difficult, but band or orchestra. And what are we always worried about, Alan? Numbers. We know that we have administrators and school board members looking at the numbers of students signed up for our ensembles. And if this meant I could get another few numbers into my group so my roster looked a little bit bigger, this doesn't seem like a huge ask.
I mentioned earlier that there's underserved students and there's students who don't quite fit into band and choir. And just to be more explicit about it, there are students for whom that is true at academic classes as well. Like there's a whole group of students out there where this could be the entry point and could keep them in school.
So in addition to making me look good, this might be like the right thing for kids.
I like it when we can kill two birds with one stone, Dr. Shanley.
It could be useful in a choral program too. I heard of somebody who took the choral parts and then tabbed the choral parts and had the students play their parts on a ukulele to help them with sight singing.
That's a great idea. And probably in your average piece of middle or high school choir music, the soprano part, the melody, isn't going to be much more than an octave, octave and a half. Whereas when we start getting into a little bit more advanced band literature, the clarinet, trumpet, flute, we're going to have some range issues to contend with as well. So yeah, I suppose in a 55-piece choir or 40-piece choir, having one or two students kind of trying to play the soprano part on a very quiet ukulele, also not going to do a lot of damage and going to help them learn.
And also, if you had a time period between concerts and you had the ukuleles, teaching your singers to have an instrument that can accompany singing, because I've seen so many people as adults who have lovely voices and they sound great when they're accompanied by somebody, but when they sing by themselves, it's not quite rhythmic, not quite in pitch. Being able to sing and strum to keep a beat, and then to have the sound of the chords. There are so many singers that would really love to have an instrument that they could use to accompany singing, and ukulele is probably the easiest instrument out there for that.
Just accessibility is the word that keeps going through my head. We've talked about the low entry point of cost. How much are school ukuleles?
If you're getting new ukuleles, you can get a classroom set. By that, I mean 30 ukuleles for about $1,000 or a little bit less.
That is less than a euphonium.
And they last. We bought ours about 10 years ago, and there's a few that have broken, but they're still going strong in the school district that I retired from.
I just want to make sure I'm doing my math right. So we're talking like $30?
Yeah. I mean, clearly, if you're going to buy your own and you're going to go to a store or even order one somewhere, you're going to pay more. But if you're going to go through the people that outfit your band or outfit your orchestra, they can get the ukuleles at a good cost. And for the companies that make the ukuleles, they can sell, if they're selling in bulk, they can sell them for less.
You mentioned for singers how nice it is to have something that they can accompany themselves with, and the ukulele much easier, cheaper, lighter than piano, certainly, and guitar as well. And that kind of got me thinking as well. So, Alan, I'd like you to envision in your high school band a clarinet player. Now, I'd like you to envision in your high school band a ukulele player. Which one of them in 15 years is there a greater chance that they are still playing that instrument? What do you think?
that that doesn't take a lot of thought. It is the ukulele. Yes. My daughter was an all-state French hornist and didn't play the ukulele in any school ensemble, but she still plays the ukulele and hasn't touched the horn in years.
So, Jenny, a common theme we've had in our podcast is something along the lines of elementary and general music teachers are way ahead of us secondary ensemble teachers in a lot of ways. And I think this would be another example. So I'm sure a lot of our elementary and general music teachers are already kind of familiar with the ukulele and its possibilities, at least on a basic level. So can you give us maybe one or two ideas for ukulele implementation at the elementary level or general music classroom that perhaps those experts haven't thought of yet?
There's so many wonderful things that you can do with it. And when I was teaching, it was before we had all the wonderful ukulele play-along videos that are very ubiquitous now on YouTube. But for certainly the middle school students, they love these. And just about any song that you can imagine, there's going to be somebody who has recorded it, and it's almost like karaoke. So there's lyrics up there and there's chords. They don't even tell you how you have to strum. You can strum any way you want, but you're playing along with the artist and you hear what they're doing. And it encourages, especially in middle school, when boys are going through vocal changes because they're less willing to sing, it encourages reluctant students because they're not performing and they know the song, they enjoy the song, and they find themselves singing just because they sing, they sing when they listen to it on Spotify or whatever, or they sing in the shower or whatever. So they're comfortable because they don't think anyone's listening. And so it's a way to keep that musicianship. And also because there's so much of the current music that has been on these videos, it's a way for us to teach music that is a little bit more current to our students, because so much of the time when we're teaching in the band, orchestra, choir setting, we're teaching music that is not really the same style as the music that the students listen to. So we have the option with the ukulele to do things that are more current and encourage the students to create their own music and within various parameters. It's just a very creative instrument that way.
Yeah, I think one of the things many teachers struggle with when we talk about those four national core arts standards of the performing, creating, responding, connecting. The performance standard just usually kind of takes care of itself without a lot of thought.
Right.
But for a lot of teachers, it's cracking that creating standard. And for a lot of them, they're like, well, I'm not very creative. I just was a flute major or a voice major, and I didn't ever have to. And so the idea of that is terrifying. And so having one more very accessible way to do that, and also just what you mentioned about being able to perform music that they are listening to, I think is huge. And the ability to, this movie just came out or this song is very popular, that might eventually get arranged for a band or for an orchestra, but usually it's going to take a year or two to find its way through the publishers and and even then, like, let's be honest, having the band or the orchestra play it, it doesn't sound like it did in the Disney film with the singer or with the rock band that we're listening to. And so this is a way to get that music, the hot new thing. You could do it a lot faster. So teachers, if you're looking for another reason to implement this, whatever the students are into, whatever they're listening to, whatever is cool and current and popular, there's probably a better chance that you are going to get them performing that sooner on a ukulele than in a concert band setting.
Oh, yeah. And there's just so many people, a lot of the various ukulele educators there's a lot of different clubs that come up with these play-alongs, and you can just use this music and play along to it, and it's just really fun. And then the idea also of the students creating their own music.
I know I sound really excited, and to the listeners, it might sound like this was my idea. Like
Steve, okay?
Steve has an agenda. He wants to sell us on the ukulele. And I am going to let listeners in behind the scenes a little bit here. Jenny emailed me And I looked at it and I was kind of like, eh. And I forwarded it to Alan and I thought, all right, what do you think? And Alan said, well, we kind of often use the ukulele as like a why do concert band instead of a ukulele ensemble? And our concert band people say, because concert band is beautiful and this is why. And he said, I think it would be okay to maybe let the other side have a shot at this and explain it. And now as
Mhm.
we're doing it, I'm like, this is great. I want to go back and
Yeah.
be a high school band director again so I can try some of this stuff. And this is not the direction that I expected this would go. This is not a sales pitch for the ukulele from Steve Shanley.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Alan. Jenny, you're the author of Ukulele for All. You give ukulele clinics in public schools. Can you tell us a little bit about those clinics, about your resources, and how our listeners could benefit from them?
Okay, I live in the Chicago area. For these clinics, I have a classroom set of ukuleles. I can go to a school with 30 ukuleles and 30 books. Basically, you just need to have a place for me to be with a sound system and some music stands. And then I can teach kids who've not played ukulele before the basics of possibly three easy chords. And then I would take them into a ukulele play along where they play a popular song along with the ukulele play along, because you can learn that in 45 minutes. Slightly younger students will not learn that quickly, but with the ukulele book, Ukulele for All, it has we start with the reason it's very accessible is it starts with one chord songs, and so we're teaching just how to keep a steady beat and how to sing with the steady beat. We also teach some strumming patterns with that. We teach the first three chords are all chords that use one finger, and then we go into a two-finger chord. And then the big deal is when they get to the hump of having to change the chord and having to do it in time. And that's a big deal for them. It depends on the age. Older students can do that more easily than younger ones. But the book does take you sequentially. There's a long video that teaches you how to tune the ukulele. There's another video that teaches you how to read tab and how to understand how it works and how the line and the numbers work and understand the frets. And then by the time you get to the end of the book, you're able to do a song with five chords in 3/4 time with a fairly nice strumming pattern. And all along, there's been melody tabs so you can create an instrumental ensemble.
And just to clarify, the book works as a standalone. That doesn't need to be like they don't need to have you lined up for a clinic, right?
No,
They can
they can
just
just
buy
buy
the
the
book.
book.
Yep. Okay.
And the book has something called IPS, which is proprietary with Joe's Publishing, and the IPS has a video for each song, also has audio. So if you were to, and all the songs are in public domain, so they're all performable. So if you wanted to have a background while your students were playing to make sure they all start together and end together, that the book provides that. And so it's really got great resources with it. And you can also purchase a teacher manual, and the teacher manual gives you a lot of ideas on creative things that you can do with the material.
Our listeners might be wondering Steve Shanley's opinion on tablature, or they aren't, but I'm going to give it to you anyway.
Hey,
25.
okay, Steve. I think our listeners are curious about your opinion on tablature.
Really?
Steve,
You think
would you
so?
tell us? I
Oh,
do. I do. Would you please share it?
yeah, I would. 25 years ago, I would have said that's not the right way to learn to read music. And I do not feel that way anymore. And yeah, there's some things you would need to learn, as you mentioned earlier. If we implemented them into a band, they'd maybe have to learn to read rhythm or not. Like you're playing that music for 4 weeks, they're going to learn it by rote. I am fine with students learning to speak and listen to the musical language and getting the sound first and figuring out the symbols later. And if there is a way for them to be making music quickly and they know if they sound good or not, tab helps them sound good quickly. I'm all for it. So I was a purist at one point on that, but now I am not at all. I see both of you nodding your head. Obviously, Jenny, if you're including it in your book, you think tab has some benefit to it, and Alan, being a pragmatist, I'm sure also sees some value to it as well.
Get people making music.
Yes.
And have them keep doing it.
Yeah. And keep doing it, keep making music. And that, as we said, is a struggle for us with the band instruments. Like, what do you do with your clarinet when you're 32 years old and you don't have anyone else to play with? Whereas the ukulele, all sorts of possibilities. So thank you so much for joining us today, Jenny, to help enlighten me, especially on the benefits of the ukulele. Can you stick around for our lightning round?
Yes.
All right. I'm asking you to pick your favorite restaurant in the Chicagoland area.
Oh, let's see. My favorite restaurant is Coco Pazzo. And it's an Italian restaurant, and it's in the River North area.
A piece of music, composer, or performer that you wish more people knew about.
On ukulele, everybody should know about Jake Shimabukuro. He's a wonderful ukulele artist out of Hawaii. Plays solo ukulele, does not sing, is an incredible virtuoso on the ukulele. I also love the Ukulele Orchestra of Great Britain because they do really fun arrangements, and they include a bass ukulele and soprano ukuleles, and there's a lot of humor in their concerts.
So if we've never listened to ukulele before, start with those two and we'll be hooked.
You'll be impressed. You'll be really impressed.
At the very least, we'll be impressed. Yeah.
Yeah. You'll think, oh, this is not just a toy. This is actually a real instrument.
How about your favorite vacation destination?
Well, I really love to cross-country ski, so I like to go up to the snowbelt of Lake Superior in northern Michigan and in northern Wisconsin and in northern Minnesota and do Nordic skiing.
Because Chicago is not cold and snowy enough for you in the winter, you need to go further north.
That is right. That is correct.
How about the most memorable live music performance you've attended?
Way back when I was in late high school, my family was traveling in Europe, and we had rented a car that did not have a radio. So we were only, and that was before you had streaming or anything. So the only music we were hearing was each other singing, and that got really old really fast. But we went to Chamonix, and we heard the virtuosos of Rome, I think is what it was called, and they played the Four Seasons, and it was right underneath Mont Blanc. And as I love both the outdoors skiing and music, it was a perfect combination for me.
Sounds like it. And finally, a book recommendation for our listeners, please.
A recent book that I read was called Wayfaring Stranger. It's by Emma John. I'm interested in bluegrass right now, and there's a subtitle to it that is Wayfaring Stranger and a Musical Journey in the American South. And she's a British author who played the classical violin growing up and is interested in learning to master bluegrass and play fiddle. And she talks about the difficulties of transitioning from one musical style to another, and along the way understanding some of the social movements in the United States as an outsider. Very interesting book.
Jenny Peters, thanks so much for being our guest today, and especially thank you for making so much headway with Dr. Steve Shanley when it comes to ukulele. It's been great.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Music Ed Insights.
We're supported by Group Dynamic, a leading provider of youth leadership workshops. Alan works with dozens of schools each year to help develop their leaders. Learn more at groupdynamic.net/youth-leadership.
Or you could email me at alan@groupdynamic.net. Also sponsored by the Co-College Music Education Program. They've got a website too.
Just click their link at our website or email me at sshanley@coe.edu.
Also, The Normal Design, helping normal companies and people create memorable, meaningful, and professional designs and branding. More at thenormaldesign.com.
And Winterset Websites, website design and maintenance. wintersetwebsites.com.
Our Facebook page is Music Ed Insights.
Our website has program notes, links, and a one-page download of this episode's key takeaways. That's musicedinsights.com.
New episodes generally drop every couple weeks on Monday.
Get current.
Stay relevant.
Music Ed Insights.